Hello and welcome back to the Somnium Files. We've got two more paths to complete, this and this one over here, and currently this is the only one that's unlocked. But let me just quickly take a look. Where does this path even lead us? What happened in this? Here we went for the bad memory. What happened then? We went to Seoul. We went into Iris's sink. She got sort of almost kidnapped. Then we went into this sink. And we found her dead. Here, what was this one? Yeah, we didn't trust in her, I think. This was the one where we just kind of went a different route in the Somnium. Found her dead, and then it was locked. So, let's start with day 5, Tuesday. In the Harbor Warehouse District, Tuesday, 9:39 a.m.
Have you settled down? The scene is being inspected without you. This time the body didn't disappear. However, you lost consciousness. I didn't expect you to faint. Seeing that corpse must have been incredibly shocking. I did not predict you to be the fainting type. I suppose humans are unpredictable. Now that you're back, let's get back to business. You are conscious, are you not? Are you at a loss for words? Date, don't let negative thoughts consume you. Thinking that Iris died because of me. If I never took her to Ota's, this wouldn't have happened. If you truly believe that, then your brain is completely rotten. Or perhaps when you saw the corpse, your head became filled with images of blooming yellow dandelions.
What?
Oh, you're talking now. Was I correct? If you consider the situation logically, even an elementary school student would understand.
Huh?
Fine. Allow me to pluck some of those dandelions from your mind. I will ask 3 questions. Please answer honestly.
Okay.
First question. The cold storage warehouse was not in regular operation.
Correct.
But even so, the AC was on, and a minus 58-degree temperature was maintained.
Correct. Minus 58? What?
Why
Jesus.
is that?
To preserve something.
To preserve something?
Yes. Let us move on to the next question. Second question. There was something strange about the corpse. Do you remember what that was?
Wait, was it missing its right eye? It was. Which is not the usual eye that goes missing. I mean, all of those things are true. And D is certainly the one that stands out as being strange. I mean, it was completely frozen, could be construed as strange if you think about the time. I don't know how long it takes for a human body to be completely frozen, but I would have imagined it would take... actually, maybe a couple of hours is fine. Covered by a cloth. I mean, it's slightly strange, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's noteworthy. It was hidden in the engine compartment. I don't see anything strange about that. Let's go with this.
That is a unique factor, but there was something else, something more peculiar.
Okay, the only other thing I think is peculiar is it being covered by a cloth.
What is unnatural about that?
Isn't it strange? The culprit hid the body because they didn't want it to be found. But then they cover it with a cloth? That implies they thought that someone would eventually find it.
But do you know for a fact that the culprit hid the body? And even if they were responsible?
I mean, potentially Iris hid in there with a cloth and then froze to death? That's maybe.
It is not uncommon that murderers feel a sudden urge of remorse or pity for their victim.
So let's cover her with a cloth, yeah.
So the cloth was a sign of pity?
That is a possibility.
Doubtful. Yeah, let's go back to completely frozen.
Iris's body was completely frozen. The temperature read -58. With Iris's weight... Just wondering, but how much do you weigh?
105.
Don't you know it's rude to ask a lady that?
105 pounds.
I see. 105, huh? It should have taken about 18 hours to freeze solid.
Yeah, I was a bit too quick with my estimate, but I also do not remember how long it took for between her death and us finding her.
But we were...
Wait a moment. Before you draw your conclusion, allow me to ask my final question. Question 3. 2 days ago, Sunday night, you found a dead body in the cold storage warehouse. But afterward, you visited the Sagan household and discovered that Iris was in fact still alive.
Yes. Are you telling me I went back to the original timeline where Iris was already dead? Or are you telling me that the body originally wasn't Iris's, but was just something made to look like Iris's body, and we found that thing again, but they hid it in that compartment? That would be weird, because surely you'd be able to tell it apart. Like, if it's not a real body that was just made to look like Iris.
Why?
But those are interesting questions. You mean, how could Iris still be alive? The corpse was a hallucination is dumb. That makes no sense. You mean?
You mean?
You've got it.
I bolted into the warehouse like I was shot out of a gun.
I don't believe it.
The stomach is swollen slightly. She appears to have been pregnant.
Okay.
How?
Do not worry. The uterus does not contain a fetus.
You mean after she was killed?
No, the fetus was not present in her body when she was killed. She must have been killed after giving birth. The distended stomach does not immediately shrink after birth. The expanded uterus takes some time to return to its normal size.
Okay. Okay.
This evidence makes one thing perfectly obvious.
This corpse isn't Iris.
Ah, okay.
It's someone else.
Which means...
Iris is still alive.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, she could be dead, but just not here. Okay, so I was right in the assumption that it was just someone else. Well, I said someone or something else made to look like Iris, but obviously it would have to be a real person, otherwise you would immediately notice it's not a real human corpse. I thought maybe it being frozen could impact that judgment slightly, but obviously not. Although it must have been someone else, you know, very close in looks to Iris. But why go to the lengths of dressing up someone as Iris and then just, I don't know.
She could be alive. We haven't confirmed that yet. Multiple stab wounds with a single-edged, sharp object to the victim's back. Judging by the size and shape of the marks, the weapon was most likely a kitchen knife. This matches what you said on Sunday.
So this is the body I saw then.
Yeah.
Iba, who is this?
Unknown.
A Jane Doe, but it's definitely not Iris.
Is there an estimated time of death?
Impossible to determine.
Yeah, from a frozen corpse, you couldn't tell.
This body has been completely frozen for at least 10 years.
Okay. Right, how you can... Okay.
10 years? She was killed more than 10 years ago?
Exactly.
Killed more than 10 years ago. Is there some kind of connection that I could reasonably come up with that would explain this being someone we could possibly know, but I can't really think of anyone.
Her identity is unknown. Her killer is also unknown, but there is one likely suspect.
Who?
Let's consider the clues. The scene. Okiura Fishery Cold Storage Warehouse.
Oh, I'm realizing again, I've completely lost track of who's alive and who's dead in these paths. So is still alive, isn't he, in this one? How about Renju? I think Are Renju's whereabouts known in this? I don't think they are they? I think Renju's whereabouts are unknown here.
Sunday night, we saw So here. And there is something else about So Sejima. We witnessed someone similar to Iris being stabbed repeatedly in So's Somnium.
But it wasn't Iris. It was this woman.
That is highly likely.
What we saw was So's memory from more than 10 years ago.
I believe that is the case.
Okay.
Renju and So?
But we still do not know where Renju
Yeah,
is.
there we go.
That means that we need to talk to.
So Sejima.
Yeah, he's gonna be very helpful, isn't he? Alright. Let's see. Sejima residence, Tuesday, 12:01 p.m. Mizuki and Ota kept searching for Iris, but unfortunately they didn't turn up anything. Iris's whereabouts are still unknown. I'm worried about her, but without any leads, we'd just be looking for her blindly. I should focus on the investigation for now. It will eventually lead me to Iris, I'm sure of it. With that in mind, I headed to So's mansion.
I thought I told you never to show your face here again.
And yet here I am. A pond. Small island in the center of the pond. Okay, nothing really interesting here today. The bridge, maybe? No. Alright. So.
I didn't come here for Shoko today. I didn't come here for Iris either. Instead, I'm here for a girl who looks like Iris. Did you kill her?
Date, look.
I knew it.
Very red.
You killed her, didn't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've had enough of your shit, Congressman! You wanted to check on the body of the girl you killed. That's why you were at the cold storage warehouse 2 days ago.
He was worried with another incident there that people would find it.
Where is Renju Okiura? You know where he is, don't you? You were at an Okiura fishery warehouse for a reason. There's definitely a connection between you two, and that's not all. Number 89 called your secretary, the same number 89 that Renju escaped with. Now tell me, where is Renju?
Suddenly, a gang of bodyguards stormed out of the mansion. In an instant, they surrounded me.
We'd like to ask you to please leave.
Damn it, So!
There's nothing we can do. We did arrive without a warrant. We were technically trespassing. If he had called the police, we would be in a predicament. We would have been detained immediately. Who would look after Iris then? Do you intend to leave your responsibility with Mizuki and Ota?
Ah!
Calm down, Date. We still have our lead.
Lead?
Before I explain, we need to discuss the corpse in the cold storage warehouse. Let's give her a name. Because she is frozen solid, we could call her All Ice or Alice. What do you think?
Sure.
Alice and Iris. I believe it fits nicely.
All right, Alice. What about her?
Someone might be able to identify her.
Who?
Iris.
Allow me to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
Again with this?
First question. You have seen this corpse more than twice.
Have I?
3 times, in fact.
I remember 2 times, but what was the 3rd time?
When was the first time?
Let me see. Well, 2 days ago Sunday night we know. 3 days ago Saturday night. What was the original reasoning why we came to the warehouse to look for Iris? This was like the first path I took. This was like 2 months ago at this point. I do not remember. But 2 days ago Sunday night was definitely a time where we saw the frozen corpse, so left and right are clearly useless. So if that was not the first time, then it must have been 3 days ago.
3 days ago. Saturday night when I synced at Abyss.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, in the Somnium world. We saw the frozen corpse of a girl.
Of course, that's why we went there.
Question 2. Who is the girl?
Alice.
Now I know. That girl was probably Alice.
Most likely, yes. So we have technically known Alice for 3 days. One last thing. The final question.
You're gonna say... Ah. There is a connection there. I mean, the missing eye is an obvious one, but I initially thought, well, maybe she's a victim of the Cyclops killings, but those were only 6 years ago, so her death predates those. But they share the same... what's the word for it? Same method, I suppose. The same modus operandi in that her eye was taken out. Presumably before her death, but I don't think at this stage of, we could actually tell if it was before or after. Maybe you could tell by the blood, but... So, she might well have been the first of the Cyclops serial killings, in a sense. The first of her kind.
In which Somnium did we see Alice?
God, how would I remember? Not so. Who the fuck is Adrian? Mizuki or Iris? Was it... Oh, I don't remember. It wasn't in Mizuki's, no, it must have been Iris's.
Last night, you saw Alice's dead body in last night's sink.
Did we not sync with Iris multiple times?
No, you didn't. Stop guessing.
Sorry, it must have been Mizuki's.
My roommate, Mizuki Okiura.
Did we sync with Mizuki twice? Because it definitely wasn't... Oh no, it was, wasn't it? Oh, I forgot what the situation... Because I couldn't remember where we saw the dead body in the sink. But now I just remembered. When I thought about it again, it was under the whole carousel. When the carousel got lifted upwards, that's where we found the dead body. Okay, that obviously makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I just forgot about that.
Exactly. You mentioned something about Mizuki's Somnium being some kind of prophecy, but prophecies are nonsense. Dreams are not made of the future. They are made from the past.
So Mizuki would have some kind of connection to that woman more than 10 years ago. Wait. This might seem very out of left field. But is that... No, it can't be. I was gonna say, is that woman Mizuki's actual mother? Is it not actually Shoko? Because the timing fits. 12 years ago, Mizuki was born. That fits with the time of death of the corpse. And it appeared in Mizuki's Somnium. It's certainly an interesting one.
Therefore,
Mizuki has seen Alice before.
there is no other explanation.
Aiba, where is Mizuki now?
Where we went with Iris yesterday, the Kume Shrine.
The shrine? Why would she be there?
Unknown. She is supposed to be looking for Iris.
Okay, let's go.
I mean, just to be clear, I don't think that theory holds a lot of weight, but it is a possibility, I suppose. Ikuma Shrine, Tuesday, 2:40 p.m.
Date,
Did you find Iris?
if I did, I would have told you already.
Right.
What are you doing here?
Iris used to like this shrine.
She did.
She told me about all her memories here. We used to come here all the time. You know those steps in the front? We would sit there together and talk about things. Like what gluten-free means, and eyelash extensions, and aerial yoga. And we would talk about all our problems together. Sometimes we would talk late into the night. So I thought that maybe she'd be here, but it looks like I was wrong.
Where's Ota?
I think he's searching Akihabara right now. Last time he checked in, he said he didn't have anything.
Has anyone been counting how often have we asked Mizuki where Renju is? Why would she know?
I think Iris is with Renju.
With Daddy?
Yeah. Her note mentioned her most trusted person.
Ah, right. That note was a thing.
That's probably Renju.
Yeah. I remember that mermaid girl saying something like that.
He was looking for Iris.
Does that mean that Daddy is the one who called for Iris?
It could be. So I need to know where he is.
But I haven't been able to get a hold of him.
About Alice.
Mizuki, I have something very important to ask you.
I told Mizuki about the frozen corpse we called Alice.
You've seen her before, haven't you? 3 days ago, I saw her in your Somnium. The body of a girl who looks like Iris, Alice. Your dreams are built from your memories. So that corpse... Mizuki, please, answer me. Iris's life is at stake.
Huh? What do you mean?
I told Mizuki everything. About how Renju ran off with the assassin number 89. How number 89 is connected to So Sajima. And that Sajima is linked to Alice's murder.
I need to know everything about Alice. If I find out who she is, I might be able to solve the mystery of Renju and number 89. And that might lead me to Iris.
Mizuki looked down at her feet quietly. I could see agony in her face. The silence lingered. Finally, she steeled herself, lifted her head, and spoke.
Okay. I'll tell you about Alice. It was about a month ago. I saw my daddy crying in the president's office at Lemnisgate. I was peeking through a crack in the door so he didn't see me. Daddy got up, then got into his car and drove away. I had never seen him like that before. I was curious, so I followed him in a taxi. That led me to the cold storage warehouse. He got out of his car and went inside. I followed right behind him, quietly. Daddy was standing next to the forklift in the back. I hid behind a shelf. I watched Daddy open the hood of the forklift, and then, after a little bit, he left. I wanted to know what he was looking at. I went over to the forklift, and I looked under the hood myself. And then...
You saw Alice's dead body.
But at the time, I thought it was Iris.
Did you talk to Renju about it?
What do you mean? I couldn't just ask. It would have changed everything. I thought that as long as I stayed quiet, everything would be okay. I didn't see a dead body. I wasn't even at the warehouse. I repeated that to myself over and over and tried to forget the whole thing.
Repressed memories are often the subject of somnia.
That's why Alice showed up during the sync.
What did you do after that?
The corpse looked exactly like Iris. I couldn't believe she was dead. I just couldn't.
That's why Renju picked up Iris to his talent agency. Because she looked like Alice. And my theory, I said it held no weight. I'm actually getting more confident about it now. Of her being actually Mizuki's mother. Now, she might have not been like, you know, how do you call it? She might have been like is lone mother? It's the German, like a literal translation of the German word. I'm not sure if the English word is anything like it, but you know, where basically someone else carries out the baby for parents. She could have been something like that. A surrogate? Is it something like that? Where potentially she is actually, you know, she was the one who birthed Mizuki. Even though she... then it's a difficult question about whether that makes her her parent or not.
So I went to Iris's house.
Huh? What's wrong, Mizuki?
Iris was alive. I thought I was going crazy. Or dreaming. I tried to convince
Or both.
myself that it was just a hallucination.
Why didn't you call the police? I mean, it's obvious. But go on.
What was I supposed to do? Daddy would have been in trouble.
So you kept quiet this whole time?
Yeah.
It is surrogate, by the way. Surrogate mother. Just looked it up. About Okura Fishery Cold Storage Warehouse.
I actually met with one of the higher-ups at Daddy's company last night, before I went to Matsushita Diner.
Why?
Because you asked about the cold storage. I was curious. I asked around some, and I found out that Daddy was managing the warehouse before I was born. After my grandpa died, Daddy took over. In exchange for managing the warehouse, he gave ownership of the company to someone else. I guess he didn't want to let this place go. Or maybe he couldn't let it go. That's more accurate, I think. But I understand why. Inside that warehouse was...
Alice.
On paper, Daddy has nothing to do with Okiura Fishery.
The interesting part here is, does Mizuki actually know who she is? Or does she also just have no idea and she just saw her body?
Daddy was still managing the warehouse. And he was the only one allowed in there, too. That was part of the agreement when he gave up the company. And the whole thing had to be a secret. He really stressed that point.
It makes a lot of sense for this part, or path, by the way, just to be locked until you've seen a lot of the other paths, because just from a narrative point of view, obviously it's always a bit annoying if you get to like a dead end and then you have to continue somewhere else because you forget about a lot of the things that happened in that path. From a narrative standpoint, it's definitely paying off to have a lot of paths, you know, work together here, and just all of the narrative sort of intertwining and leading to some interesting conclusions and theories. How long was he managing the warehouse?
Hey, Mizuki. How long was he managing the warehouse?
For 18 years. That's what the man told me.
18 years? From that long ago?
Yes.
How old was Renju again? It must have been like pretty much after school.
Iba, I need an emergency search. Missing persons from 18 years ago.
That long? Okay, then it wouldn't make sense anymore for her to be Mizuki's mother or somewhat related.
Understood.
I mean, she could have been Renju's lover at some point.
Huh?
Date, I found her. The girl who looks like Iris.
What's her name?
Monica Ey. 19 years old at the time of her disappearance.
Hitomi's friend. Okay.
A graduate of Etoku High School.
Yeah.
What?
Oof. I mean, these are the sort of games where there's never just a name that has no meaning, except for Kagami. But the moment essentially Hitomi mentioned Manaka Iwai, she was bound to appear again at some point. Although I definitely did not expect
Renju
corpse
was
to
my
be her.
classmate at Eitoku High. We've known each other for 20 years now.
So it's definitely possible that she was pregnant from Renju as well. The bigger question... Wait. 18 years ago. Is she Iris's mother? I don't know how I only realized that now, but what if Hitomi isn't actually Iris's mother? And it's Manaka Iwai instead? I know too little about Hitomi's past to really make that call, but that now actually seems very likely. And Hitomi decided...
When I was young, I lost someone very important to me.
Hitomi decided to take care of Manaka's child. I mean, in sort of these video games, it's always like the hair color pink. Yeah, or who cares? Hair colors don't mean anything. But Hitomi has brown hair. And now that we saw Manaka has like pinkish hair as well, that is another indication. I always would have just thought, well, Iris has pink hair, so what? Just, I don't know, it's a game. Could have been dyed or whatever. But, very interesting.
Manaka Iwai, my best friend. One of the only friends I had.
Alice's Monica. Hitomi's friend who went to the same school as her and Renju. But why? Monika's body was found just now. But even back then, Hitomi knew. She knew that Monika was already dead. Aiba, where is Hitomi right now?
At headquarters for questioning.
That also gives more insight into the Hitomi soul connection that we saw in that one little, like it was one time, but we saw them both talking to each other at Tsushima residence once, just in the background. That now puts another interesting spin on that.
MPD still believes that the body they discovered was Iris.
Got it. Contact boss. Have them bring Hitomi to Abyss.
Roger that.
We're definitely syncing with her. I think my theory on her being Iris's mother is true. Tuesday, 5:08 p.m. at the police headquarters.
You're awfully calm. You saw the corpse of your daughter today. You were called into the station to confirm her identity. And yet here you are, cool as a cucumber, even though you lost your precious daughter. Shall I guess why?
That is a dick way to go. She sounds like such a dick, but yeah. I mean, the information. What is that gonna say? Oh, that's not what I meant.
Because that body isn't Iris.
I wanted to look at what it says.
And you know it.
Are you serious?
Yes. Her name is Manaka Iwai. She was killed when she was 19. She went to the same high school as you, and she was your best friend. Isn't that right? Nothing to say for yourself? Hiding something? Maybe you killed her with Renju.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, now you're talking. But we know Renju committed a crime, illegally disposing of a body, and we can prove it.
Where she was found.
The cold storage warehouse where the body was found. It's been managed by Renju Okiura for almost 2 decades now, and witness testimony proves that he knew about the corpse there. And if I'm not mistaken, you knew about the corpse too, Hitomi. You and Renju have been close since high school. It's not too much of a stretch to think that he told you about the body. And I remember you telling me once.
When I was young, I lost someone very important to me. Manaka Iwai, my best friend. One of the only friends I had.
How did you know that she was dead?
Huh. Fair point. I mean, that being said, purely on the level of what her words stand for, I don't know how to properly describe what I mean, but purely on a grammatical level, let's go at it that way, I lost someone very important to me does not necessarily imply that that person is dead. It just means that you are no longer in contact with them and have no means of contacting them, essentially. You can lose someone that isn't dead.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Don't play dumb. I know you're hiding something. You know what happened 18 years ago. And you knew she was pregnant. You were her best friend. Of course you would have known. Tell me. Tell me everything!
Date, she's not going to talk.
Boss, you're gonna tell me to sync with her.
Sync with her.
He's so predictable.
Date, I'm sure I've told you enough times by now, but please, come back within 6 minutes.
You definitely have told me enough times by now.
I can't promise you that, Pewter.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm not coming back until I find something.
What's, technically speaking here, what would be the problem between, what would be the problem with syncing with someone multiple times? Like, going in there for 6 minutes, okay, found nothing, alright, let's come out again. Right, start again. In there for another 6 minutes. I mean, I'm sure it takes a strain on your mental health and your, well, I guess physical health as well, but surely you could sync with someone multiple times. I mean, we've seen so in the past. We've synced with people on more than one occasion. At least I'm pretty sure we did. Although, you know, with different timelines, I'm not 100%. We've definitely synced with Iris multiple times. Yeah, that's for sure. At least in the timeline where we synced with her once to in that Minecraft world, and then afterwards to try and get rid of a brain tumor. In that world, we definitely synced with her twice. There were a couple of days in between, but I mean, you can, clearly.
Date, you can't.
Why not?
You know why.
Because it will take over my consciousness?
Yes.
But if it's only a little...
No, not even a little. If the sync passes the critical point, the damage will be irreparable.
But what does that mean exactly?
Are you two hiding something?
No.
I'm not hiding anything.
Then let's try it. Let's experiment with my mind. Then we'll know for sure what'll happen.
Fine. I'll just say it.
Yeah?
Pewter, tell him.
Me?
You know more about it than I do.
Well...
Did it happen once before?
Ask Pewter. He knows more about it than I do.
Alright. Yuta, where are you? There you are. Why are you grinning?
Well, first off, 6 minutes is not a hard limit. It could be 7, or even 8.
I don't care about the exact time.
Well, that's important, because we know 6 minutes is definitely safe. That's essentially what he's saying there.
I'm asking what happens if you go beyond the limit.
Do you remember the story I told you about the egg?
No. I remember you telling me a story about the egg very long ago, but I don't know how it went.
Yeah, why?
If you imagine an egg as your consciousness, the yolk is what goes into the subject's brain. The white remains inside your shell. If you go beyond the limit, your yolk will not be able to return to its shell.
Because the subject's mind will start to take over the sinker's consciousness, right? I know that part already.
Indeed. But there's more to it. After the yolk is devoured, the egg white is brought through the machine next.
Huh?
And there's more. It's not just the sinker's brain. The same process eventually occurs in the subject's as well. In other words, the entire egg ends up being replaced. Mind, consciousness, memory, they are traded. Switched.
Hmm.
The human brain has what can be understood as a memory limit. One brain can only hold one consciousness, and it can only contain one person's memories.
Now you know everything. Talk to the boss.
That doesn't necessarily seem too bad, though. I mean, there's probably some other implications there, but purely just switching consciousness and memories and everything, essentially switching brains, isn't inherently all that bad, and technically, you could just have the same process happen again and switch them back afterwards. Why did you keep this a secret?
I was unaware of this as well. This information is not on any accessible databases.
We had to prevent the possibility that the system could be exploited.
Exploited? But
Yeah, very rich people taking over the body of someone younger to keep themselves from dying of old age. Yeah, that makes sense.
Even if it wasn't you, someone else might try. We didn't tell any sinkers this, including you. Project Sync is a top-secret project. It's a matter of national security. Even sinkers are on a need-to-know basis. Think about it. What if you were kidnapped by bad people who tried to make you talk?
bad people?
A criminal organization, spies from another country, those people. If you blabbed about Project Sync, the entire country might be at risk. You heard it from Pewter. The sync machine isn't just for entering a person's somnium. It can also be used to swap bodies between two people. Imagine what this machine would be used for in the wrong hands. That's why I didn't tell you. We can't let this secret get out.
Swapping bodies between two people? Trading minds?
Certainly has a lot of applications.
Date, you remember what I told you earlier?
Oh, he remembers.
Are you listening to me?
Yeah, I got it.
Are you really okay?
I'm fine. Start it.
Understood. Let us begin.